Hey folks, Sebastian here, showmethat.com. Today we want to talk about Leslie's and what's going on at Hammond. This year at the show, they did not really feature any new keyboard major items this year. The big shakeup this year with Hammond was Leslie's. Now, those of you that know organs and know the Leslie lineups, you know for many years you had the 122A, you also had the 981, the solid state version. Then you had the 3300, either you had it in wood or you had it in black. So basically this year they've upgraded their lineup. I believe the 3300 line is kind of phased out and it's being replaced with a 3500 in black and in wood. From what I understand, the amplifier is much better because there were problems, but Hammond, I'm glad that they have got on top of that and did what they had to do. So the amplifier is much better in this new iteration. Then they have the 991, which is the replacement of the 981. That speaker also has the same amplifier in it. And what I like, it's a modular, so you can just take it right out. Say, for instance, you live somewhere where there's no technician, you could send it back to the company, whatever. That's a nice addition that they did. They changed the drivers. They got a driver that's more sounding like the original V21. They switched over to DC servo motors. So now you have the control in the back. You can control your rise and fall and so forth. So they've definitely updated the Leslie. Now, as far as the 122A is concerned, from what I understand, that's by custom order only. I think they're kind of phasing that out. You have to realize that design kind of started back in the 80s and it's kind of hung in there for a long time. But they're finally moving on from that design and I'm happy about it. And their Leslie's are sounding much better than the older stuff. You can definitely hear the difference. They had a little switch on the organ at the booth, and you can go through the three Leslie's, and you went from the 122H to the 3500W to the 991. They all have their slightly different sounds. Of course, the tube one, you got a little break up at the top, which some people like that, and that's cool to get a little bit of crunch. Of course, the 35 and the 991, because it's solid state, it was solid. But the 991, the boom on it, the bottom end, it was just had a bigger sound. It's sort of like the same thing with the old 3300. It was punchy, but it wasn't boomy. So this one has the punch, but it doesn't have the boom. Not to say that it doesn't, it does have bass, don't get me wrong. But when you have both of them there, you can definitely hear the difference if you want a bigger punch. Also, in the Heritage series, they make a 142 or 145 iteration, which is basically the short cabinet that you used to see with regular Leslie's, but with the same tube amplifier and so forth. They even added pulley wheels. So they did a lot to upgrade this this current crop of Leslie's. For those of you that are my customers, if you want to order something, just let me know. We can put in an order, but they are definitely sounding very good. Also, there's been rumors that Hammond, there may be another organ on the horizon. We don't know, but there's been rumors and chatter out there. So we're very interested to see if it's true, if it's not true, and let's see where it goes. All right, folks, we're out, and just check out this video following.
We're at the NAMM show showing Wheatworks, our newest Leslie products. We have a new series of Leslies, the 991, the 3500W, and the 3300 Black, which is in the portable case. They all have they all have the Class D amplifier in them, and there's been made a few other improvements to these Leslies. They now have an idler wheel on them to take up the slack on the new belts that we're using. The horn in here is a improved new tooling horn. The driver underneath is a new driver that emulates the V21. They've made improvements to the traditional crossover that is in here. And we've also using servos, so we have the motor controls like we've seen on the 3300 with the fall and rise and speed times all there. The Class D amplifier that's in here is replaced the older amplifiers. It's a much better amplifier. It provides 300 watts of power, biamping for the bass, and then one section for the horn driver. They have a 11-pin input and a 1/4-inch input. There's EQ on them all, and they also have bass out. So if somebody is in a church or in a rock situation where they feel they need a lower response, you can thump with a subwoofer, and you can set the frequency of the subwoofer. In addition to that, there's also this cabinet. We do have some multi-channel organs where in the traditional Leslie goes through the rotary, but all the auxiliary sounds would go through a left and a right. There are a left and right outputs if you're using a traditional 11-pin output. It will send it out to a powered output. This is the full-size 991 and a nice walnut cabinet. And like I said, we have the smaller versions. This one has the foam rotors in it. 15-inch bass speaker has been a new design bass speaker. We're real proud of the products. I think they're going to do real well for us.
Okay, so a few questions I have. Now I notice, different from the old design, the amplifier looks like it's easy to come out, serviceable. Yes. Even if you have a remote customer, it has to go back to Hammond. It's just an easier situation. Right. It's not
the entire electronics for the amplifier and preamp is in a black box with 2 connectors. Once it's disconnected and you remove the bolt, you can pull it out and send it back into
us for repair. Just like an old 122 amp, all right? Pretty much.
And in some cases, we can do board swap, so the technician in the field can actually just replace the board. So it'll be easily serviced. The servo electronics are up here. They're very reliable. We've been using them since we started the 3300.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
Okay, so you said the speaker is designed to mimic the V21. Explain that a little bit more.
There's a V21 that was the popular Jensen driver used in all the older Leslies. That has been emulated with the new driver that Japan is making. It almost looks like a V21, so it mounts up the same way. No more threaded throat. There's a bracket, it bolts up. You put the horn assembly on it with the bearing, and you're ready to go. So it does a real good job, and the horn is a new design, and actually the plastic's a little thicker, so the resonance is a little better like the real old traditional ones.
So now you were telling me that this is going to replace the 122A for the most part?
The 122A has become a boutique amp. There are some still being made, but this guy here is replacing the 971 and the 981. If you're talking about a tube amp, that would be the 122H or the 142H, and they're replacing them. And they have the 11-pin input and 1/4-inch input as well.
Okay.
So, and with the 1/4-inch input, there's also a foot switch input, so you don't need a floor preamp or anything. You just kick it with the floor preamp, with the foot switch, and you can end up changing speeds for fast, slow, and off. And it's the same thing in the 122H. It's 3-speed.
Now, I remember last year you were telling me about some simple device you guys were going to make to integrate into the old organs where you didn't have to buy these fancy, expensive interfaces.
There is an adapter for that one. I'm not sure the adapter works for this.
Okay.
But with the 11-pin input on this, if you had an 1188 kit on an old B3
Yeah.
or some of the other competitions kits, you can drive it.
It'll work.
In fact, Trek 2 has an adapter for 1/4 inch. So with a 1/4 inch and a foot switch or a front rail switch, you could hook this up to a B3.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Great. So you have this one, you have the short cabinet, you have the black version, and you have the H. That's great.
All right.
Well, thank you very much,
You're
Ray.
welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes.